You say that Wells Fargo will cut $4 billion in expenses, $2 billion by the end of 2018, another $2 billion by the end of 2019. That is a huge cut, an 8% reduction in non-interest expenses over just a 2-year period. Now, here are some of the ways you describe how you're going to achieve those cuts.
I'm sorry, Senator, could I just correct one thing you said? So it's not over a 2-year period. It's over about a 4-year period. That's number one. Number two, what we said is that the first $2 billion that we're going to be reducing, we're going to reinvest that back into the business, so it's not going to the bottom line for our shareholders.
Actually, let me just quote what you said to the investors.
Sure.
You said you were going to consolidating similar operations activities to provide better economies of scale.
So that Center of Excellence, for example.
Can I just read this, please?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Improving processes, including digital technology to automate manual processes, and outsourcing of certain non-differentiated capabilities. Now, that's a lot of corporate buzzwords, but consolidating, automating, and outsourcing sounds an awful lot like firing people. So, Mr. Sloan, given your statements about how much you value your employees, can you tell us today that you will not be firing any employees as part of this $4 billion cut?
I cannot.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, Senator, we have an obligation to run Wells Fargo.
That's all I need to know, because when I look at the numbers, it looks like to me you're going to end up firing tens of thousands of employees to be able to make these numbers. Compensation and benefits for employees by far are Wells Fargo's biggest expense.
There's about 60% of our total expenses, and we're proud of that, by the way, because...
And if we assume an 8% cut in those expenses, that means that you would fire more than 20,000 employees in the next few years. And here's the kicker for me, Mr. Sloan. After telling your employees in March that they were your most valuable resource and that Wells Fargo has, quote, never been just about improving our bottom line, I want to read you what Wells Fargo told Wall Street investors 2 months later in May. Quote, we expect an additional $2 billion in annual expense reductions by the end of 2019. These savings are projected to go to the bottom line.
That's correct. That's what I just said.
So you're literally telling Wall Street you're going to fire thousands of employees.
No, we didn't say that. Senator, you're using math to then...
yeah, I do use math.
Yeah, but you're using math inappropriately, Senator. That's
inappropriately?
No,
by adding numbers?
No, you multiplied two different numbers and you applied it to people. No, Senator, you applied it to people.
I asked you, can you say you're not going to make these cuts by firing people? And you were very direct. You said, no, you can't make that promise.
I have a responsibility to the 270,000 team members to make sure that the company is in existence and successful year after year after
year. I've got one more thing I'd like to read from you. And that is, it's clear that you're going to knock out a lot of employees here. And it gets worse. At the same time you're planning to fire employees, you're promising to spend $11.5 billion in the next year buying back Wells Fargo stock. You've made this public announcement. You have that much extra money. So look, if you stick to your current plan, it's clear that Wells Fargo employees making $30,000 or $40,000 a year are going to get screwed, just like they got screwed in the fake accounts scandal before. It was executives who demanded new accounts be produced at all costs, but it was 5,300 frontline employees who paid for that with their jobs. And now that the fake account scandal has tanked Wells Fargo's reputation, your way of pumping up the bottom line and keeping Wall Street investors happy is to slash costs by firing low-level employees. You know, what happens in these cases, Mr. Chairman, is in these corporate scandals, it's almost always the frontline workers who pay the price, not the executives. And the only way we're ever going to stop these scandals is to hold executives personally accountable, to fire the people who are responsible, and when they break the law, to march some of them out in handcuffs. And until we do that, these scandals are going to continue, and working people are going to continue to take the brunt of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.